contest is scheduled for OneFall.
This is OneFall.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to OneFall. We are back for another week of headlines. My name is Sam Hudson, and as always, I am joined by my buddy, my pal, the wig boss man, Jan Murphy.
Hey now.
How are we doing today, Jan?
It's a busy day. Last night was Raw. Today is chaos. You know, I don't know if I could have my own TV show today. There's so much going on in my world.
It could be called Jan About Town or something, maybe. That might make a good name for a show. Maybe talk about things you do in town. But anyway, enough about that. This is the OneFall podcast, where Jan and I get together every week. We talk over the headlines happening in professional wrestling. And as for this week, we have 4 headlines. Anything to say before we get to them, Jan?
4. We're talking 4 topics. I think this show's growing already. We're only, this is episode 4?
Episode 4, 4 Horsemen.
You got to do it this way, though.
Today's episode is brought to you by Jaybird Digital Arts, but we'll tell you a little bit about that later. For now, let's get into the headlines.
OneFall.
Headline number 1, main event Punk. Last week, we were talking about the potential triple threat between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk, how it was not going to be the WrestleMania main event. However, as on SmackDown last week, Paul Heyman revealed that it is indeed going to close the show on night 1 of WrestleMania. Jan, what are your thoughts?
Well, my thought is I should probably just defer to you on this one because CM Punk is your overlord. You know, it pulled me in. Again, CM Punk pulls me in. It's always CM Punk that pulls me in. He pulled me in to the Drew McIntyre feud that happened last year. He pulled me in, you know, to the Rumble, and now he's pulled me into this main event. There's not much not to like about CM Punk right now and what he's doing in this incarnation of himself and in this run in WWE. And the way that it ended with him saying that this wasn't even him cashing in the promise or the favor was beautiful, and then walking away. What can you say about CM Punk right now? What can you say about CM Punk really all throughout his career? Small guy, Daniel Bryan type, smaller, maybe not as muscular, you know, all natural kind of guy, and maybe the best mic skills outside of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the history of professional wrestling. Hard to find somebody who's better at making you get invested into what he's doing than CM Punk. And he's done it again. Because again, as we talked last week, I wasn't buying it. I wasn't feeling it. It didn't have that main event, big draw, WrestleMania moment type feel to it. Largely because, as I said last week, we don't see a lot of Roman Reigns. We see more of CM Punk than we do Reigns, but still we don't see him every week. We see the most of Seth Rollins. So I wasn't feeling it, but now all of a sudden I'm feeling it. I really thought it was a great segment, and I love the way I really like Paul Heyman's magic that he's working in this. He's so invested in both Roman and Punk that we know that a decision is coming. And what decision is Paul going to make? Who is he going to align with? Could you imagine Paul Heyman aligning himself with CM Punk for the next year after WrestleMania, and how great that would be? That's what it has a feel to me like it's going. And where does Roman peel off from all that? Like, are we going to get a Roman CM Punk feud coming out of WrestleMania carrying us into, say, SummerSlam, with Paul Heyman struggling with which side he's going to be on? Excellent segment. Now I'm looking forward to that match.
I'm very excited to see where this could go, because as we were saying last week on OneFall, is that I wasn't really sure what the quote unquote story of this whole thing is, but now it really is taking shape now that everyone is there and they're promoting the match together, because Punk came out and said, hey, you haven't beaten me without the other one's help kind of thing. And now Roman Reigns, he main events WrestleManias left and right. This is his, I don't know, 12th main event. I think it might be actually his 10th or something. But main eventing WrestleMania is not new business to Roman Reigns. So I think it's fun to kind of have CM Punk finally get his main event, which, can we just talk about that for a second? Paul Heyman revealing the news to CM Punk and CM Punk just becoming overcome with emotion. I just thought was such a powerful moment. And whether that was, intended, scripted, so to speak, it's awesome. We all know, anyone who knows CM Punk knows that his dream has been to main event WrestleMania, and it's finally happening. And now with the story on top of that, the whole story of Seth Rollins with CM Punk coming back has been, he shouldn't be here. He left. He tried to burn this place down. Didn't work. And now he has come back. He's defeated Seth Rollins in cage match. Well, I guess not in a cage match, but in multiple matches. He defeated Drew McIntyre in a Hell in a Cell. And now he's getting his WrestleMania main event, which is what Seth Rollins was trying to avoid happening. So I think there's going to be some interesting fallout, I guess, of this promo over the next couple of weeks. But I know that, as you were saying, yes, I am invested and all in, so to speak, on this triple threat at WrestleMania because, again, I'm a CM Punk fan. As you said, I've loved him for a long time. I'm wearing my CM Punk shirt now, as I always do for OneFall. And I'm very, very excited to see one of my guys get his dream main event WrestleMania, get his dream against Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, I mean the two-night WrestleMania obviously, open to interpretation. Which show was more significant? Clearly, this year, night two, John Cena's final match, the way they built that arc up is definitely, the main event. But again, main eventing night one, when I think maybe that crowd is a little bit more ravenous because it's night one. It's like the first half of WrestleMania, we'll call it, right? They just expanded the show into two halves, if you will. So you're kind of the last match on the first half in my mind. But again, like I said last week, I wasn't really invested in, and Punk pulled me right in. So yeah, the emotional feelings that he showed, they looked legit. I don't think you can fake that. And I'd love to know if indeed that was held back. I'd love to know if Punk didn't know going out there that Heyman was going to tell him. That strikes me as something that Triple H would do in this era, and Heyman would advocate for because he has such a long relationship with CM Punk. Punk's been so public in his desire to, sort of finish that bucket list piece and main event of WrestleMania. I'd love to know if that was completely unscripted and Punk found that out in real time, because if it was, that was amazing.
Yeah, I think it was great. And it could be one of those surprises that Triple H has been making because, as everybody well knows, Triple H and CM Punk did not have the greatest relationship in the Punk's first run in WWE, if you will. And obviously that hatchet has been buried. They're working together in a multitude. And I think Punk has had to prove himself over the last little while with this feud with Drew and then everything that happened last year with his triceps and the Royal Rumble and being a company guy again, who Punk was very much he was doing everything the company wanted, but in a way that he had to, not because he wanted to. Whereas this time around, it really feels like CM Punk wants to be the company man because he wants that main event, but he also wants to do the betterment of WWE along the way. Do you have any final thoughts on this triple threat, Jam, before we move on to the next headline?
My final thought is I don't see how anyone outside of Punk wins this. That is my final thought. It makes the most sense from where I sit to have Punk win this. He stands to gain the most. There's lots of things they can do with Reigns and his part-time schedule. Rollins has proven time and again that he's the most versatile, perhaps best talent all around on that roster. So, the sky is the limit still with Seth Rollins. For Punk, this is built up to be and is shaping up to be a career-defining moment, and I really think he must win this match.
Well, we will find out on night one of WrestleMania when it will be Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk, the main event, night one of WrestleMania.
OneFall.
Headline number 2, Cena buries mediocrity. John Cena said that he does not bury talent. He is the talent who buries mediocrity. What do you think about that?
Again, another legendary promo by John Cena, who has delivered three consecutive industry defining, generational promos. If anyone doubted for a second that John Cena could still do this, and that isn't just get in the ring and go 20 minutes, because I think that's the easy part. Maybe if you're a little out of shape, that's not the easy part, but John Cena still looks like he's in incredible shape. When Cody
He is,
Rhodes
yeah.
had him down on the ring and the camera was over them, you could see how much bigger of a man John Cena is than Cody Rhodes. To me, if anyone had a doubt about Cena's ability to come back and do the wrestling thing as well as do the promotion of the promo thing and change his character and make us invested in a guy who, let's be honest, most of his matches over the last 5 or 6 years have been putting other people over, making, short spots, kind of attraction type things, but with no real sort of beef to them. Anyone doubting that Cena was still capable of it is now like there's absolutely no doubt as to why he is one of the greatest of all time, maybe the greatest of all time. The work he's doing right now is as good, if not better, than anything he's done prior to this point. Again, he gets in the ring. This time we change it up. Cody comes out, fantastic roast they had between them. Even Vince McMahon gets referenced, which was
Mhm.
incredible to me. Like the company man, hand selected by a man who's no longer even here. My jaw just dropped. I was like, there it is. There it is. We've waited months for somebody to step over that line. And of course, it happens during this setup for the main event at WrestleMania. So John Cena's got me all in. As I said to you last week, where The Rock fits into this is still a big question mark for me, but it's becoming less relevant with each one of these promos. Now, we're done with the promos now at WrestleMania. We're not going to see John Cena now until he comes to the ring at WrestleMania, unless they do something via satellite or there's a surprise in there that we're not aware of. Um, but wow, so good.
The Rock does love his appearances via satellite. But yes, as you were just saying, everything you were just saying about this promo was just absolute wonderful. Every time John Cena comes out, I am just captivated. I can't wait for him to come out. The crowd was a little less booey this time. They were kind of cheering a little bit when John Cena was making his way out. And before we get to Cena just berating the fans, out comes Cody. Whoa, the fans do their thing with Cody or whatever. And Cena finally lit into Cody this week, which I have been waiting for this for quite some time, because what there was the No Mercy 2017 build was the first match between John Cena and Roman Reigns. And that was kind of the first time Roman Reigns got, taken out back, so to speak, because John Cena was kind of blurring the lines of truth that he does every once in a while, but he doesn't do too often. And now it felt very reminiscent of that 2017 No Mercy promo last night, because Cena was kind of, blurring the lines with Cody Rhodes, so to speak, and how Cody Rhodes basically just filled his position, much like Roman Reigns did in the past. And depends on where your opinion is. That's kind of exactly what did happen. And then, as John Cena said, you mentioned previous ownership or leadership being referenced. John Cena said that he builds empires for billionaires, whereas Cody just steals money from their kids. And that one made my jaw drop, because that was just a reference on top of a reference of two things we don't talk about in WWE. And who else can do that but John Cena, right? And then as John Cena's leaving, of course, Cody Rhodes, he turns and says, "Hey, John, one thing they never told me is that they can't, or that I can't wrestle," which I don't think is true. I might be misremembering, but I can remember at least a couple of instances before he left that in that other company there that Cody Rhodes also did receive that chant. But I could be wrong, need to go through the archives. But yes, sometimes morons would chant, "You can't wrestle at John Cena." And we all knew we were wrong. We all knew we were wrong. It was just our way of voicing our displeasure of what we were getting week in and week out. But either way, I am just still so captivated by this. I don't know if John Cena has another appearance with a promo, but I'm upset if that is the case, because I was already excited for this match, and now I'm so ready to watch those two go at it in the middle of a ring.
Yeah, my understanding is he's not back again, that was his last appearance because they were over in
Ooh.
Europe. It was a shorter trek to get him there from where he's filming. Um, some other takeaways from that last night. Uh, First of all, I really hope that that chant, that Cody Rhodes, Cody, Cody Rhodes, I really hope that comes back to North America. I'll be interested to see if North Americans adopt that at all.
No
Um,
thanks.
I think it's fantastic. I was singing it all night. EO, EO Sky.
I like the Roman Reigns one.
I was yelling at Swinley's dogs too. I was giving them that chant. True story, but yeah, I mean a few other takeaways from that last night. I liked the fact that it got physical for the first time last night. That was kind of important to me, especially if we aren't going to see John Cena again. The swearing, I love the swearing. Like I'm an Attitude Era guy, and John Cena is the PG era guy. So when profanities are being tossed around, it has even more effect because he just doesn't do that. He's never done that. So fantastic stuff. Cannot wait for that main event at WrestleMania.
I thought
And
it was interesting that it did get physical there, like you were saying, because I know it wasn't a match and, there's different guidelines, so to speak, when it's a promo versus a match. But, Cody Rhodes, there's been multiple opponents that Cody Rhodes has needed to defeat with 3, 4, 5 different crossroads. And John Cena, the whole meme for over a decade was Cena kicks out at 2. And then here's Cena after one crossroads laid out in the middle of the ring as if it was like the big ultimate finisher using 3 different finishers in 2K. And I just thought that was a little bit strange that, John Cena is considered the greatest of all time by so many, and one finisher leaves him laid out. But again, it's a promo. I digress.
sell, 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 right?
I don't work sales.
We're selling storylines here. We're selling vision. We're selling interest in this match. I thought Yeah, I thought it played out spectacularly. And to start 3 consecutive shows with basically the same segment, it's risky. It's not The Rock. It's not Stone Cold Steve Austin, which was a slam dunk. This is John Cena in heel persona. So it was risky, but it hit home every single time.
As you're saying, night 2 of WrestleMania will be Cody Rhodes versus John Cena for the undisputed WWE Championship. Jan, do
And
you have any final thoughts?
my final thought is John Cena wins a 17th World Championship, as he has promised.
I wholeheartedly agree. And that's why I asked him that question back at Money in the Bank, because I wanted to become true. As much as I hated him for so long, I want him to win this championship and beat Ric Flair, and then he will be the unequivocal greatest of all time.
Cheap plug.
OneFall is produced in part by Jaybird Digital Arts. Looking for top quality graphic design? Then look no further than Jason Reese and Jaybird Digital Arts. Musicians, business owners, performers, event promoters, athletes,
Or a professional wrestler.
or maybe you're just someone in need of expert photo editing and design work. You need a graphic designer who can bring your vision to life. So once again, let me introduce you to Jason Reese of Jaybird Digital Arts. Logos, t-shirts, stickers, business cards, flyers, social media graphics, photo editing, print ads. He's skilled, he's creative, and he's reliable. Jay takes the time to understand your style and creates designs that truly represent you, whether it's for your brand, event, or a personal project. He consistently delivers work that gets noticed. Jaybird logos are seen everywhere, from Chinlock Wrestling's logos and posters, t-shirts, and even here with the OneFall logo. I can't recommend him enough. His service, creativity, and attention to detail are a cut above the rest. Visit jaybirddigitalarts.com or email jaybird.digitalarts@gmail.com to get started today. That's jaybirddigitalarts.com or email jaybird.digitalarts@gmail.com and tell him OneFall sent you. And just remember, his business looks good when your business looks good.
OneFall.
Headline number 3, Gunther goes sadistic. Jan, last night, Gunther and Jay, it definitely got a little bit heated up after a match between Jimmy Uso and Gunther, that Gunther took some zip ties, tied up Jay Uso, and then absolutely destroyed Jimmy Uso in front of Jay. What are your thoughts on that?
So I got to give full marks to our good buddy Mike Swindley, who we've traveled with, who we have a wrestling chat with. I went over to his place to watch this last night, and before the match even started, Swindley predicted exactly what was going to happen. I was totally blown away when it unfolded exactly how he said it was going to. Right from before Gunther was even seen coming to the ring, he was like, "You know what's going to happen tonight? Jimmy's going to get the bejesus beaten out of him in front of Jay, and it's going to be ugly and it's going to be violent." And it was all of that and then some. And it was magical. It was absolutely magical. Any lack of interest that anyone might have had in this story, in this match, because again, Jay's not great on the mic. He's good on the mic. He's okay on the mic. He is maybe the greatest tag team wrestler of all time. He's right up there with anyone who ever has been in a tag team, the Hardys, the Dudleys, you name it. He's as good as any of those. Singles, this is still relatively new area for him. Winning the Royal Rumble was a huge surprise. Nobody picked Jey Uso to win the Royal Rumble. I don't think, especially when he was down to him and Cena. Gunther has been one of the greatest in the company for quite a while now.
Mm-hmm.
So to bring these two together, it was a little bit of a mismatch for me at first. I'm like, where are they going to go with this? Because Jey Uso is, he's so over with the crowd. Gunther's such a great heel. Can they make this work? Will they have the chemistry? How will this story be told? And Gunther promised right from the beginning, if Jey Uso challenged him, he would make him pay for it every single week. And he has followed through every single week. He has done something to beat Uso down. And last night was just like, it was like being at a symphony. If you're a wrestling fan, last night was like being at a symphony, and it was the big finish. And it was awesome. The blood, which I'm not a big advocate for, was so important. Gunther being covered in Jimmy Uso's blood, like from head to toe. Probably the only thing I would nitpick out of it, if I'm nitpicking, is in almost every other instance, we see Adam Pearce and the flackies or lackeys or flunkies or whatever, they come running out much earlier. So there was no explanation for them not coming out last night. It was very willy-nilly, and at the end it bothered me a little bit, but I'm going to put that aside and just turn a blind eye to that, because what I saw happen in the ring, from the zip ties to the beat down to the blood to the way that Jay couldn't reach Jimmy, and Gunther pulled him back and then basically left him unconscious, and then gets up and is covered in his own blood and licks it, and like everything. It was like when you were a kid watching, remember that Bugs Bunny where they sing and he does the opera? That whole episode, you remember that one with Elmer Fudd?
Yeah.
That's what that was like to me last night when I was a kid, right? Like that was a magical episode of Looney Tunes. Last night, this segment was the best thing on TV last night, even better than the John Cena Cody Rhodes Open.
Well, just a little bit behind the curtain on OneFall, so to speak. We were debating whether we talk about this storyline last week, and we were kind of him-hawing it because we weren't sure if there was enough to talk about. And then you skip ahead to this week, and it honestly was such a striking promo that back when I was a kid, which it probably sticks out to you, but I'm a little bit younger than you, sorry. Brock Lesnar did the same thing to Hulk Hogan when Brock Lesnar just absolutely destroyed Hulk Hogan and he wiped the blood on him and he licked it. It kind of felt reminiscent of that, but what was interesting is that obviously Jay is his opponent coming up at WrestleMania. And so the only thing Jay loves more than anything else in the world is his brother Jimmy, right? And so they have this match, it goes the way it does, but then this is where it gets interesting. He has the zip ties, and as you were saying, for finding pedantic faults, so to speak, when the security doesn't come out right away, Jay was zip tied to the rope. He had a lot of leeway that he could have gone over, so when Jimmy was down on the ring, when he's reaching over, he could have just taken a couple steps to his right and been able to reach him. But hey, it's wrestling, you need to kind of get that out of your mind sometimes and just let the story play as it is. But yes, it felt almost kind of like a slasher or a horror movie, because Gunther had the sleeper hold there on Jimmy, staring at Jay, right? He's not even like paying any attention to Jimmy. It's just all for Jay, and he's choking out like, why aren't you helping him? Come help your brother, come help your brother. And then, as you said too, just like not just a little bit of blood on him, but like he was covered from his chin, his torso, his arms, some of his legs. Like it was like almost a frightening image. And, blood has a very unique, special ability for storytelling within wrestling. And for a very, very long time within the PG era, when we booed John Cena most of the time, blood was gone by the wayside. It was not a part of wrestling, which honestly, for a company that is marketing to kids, it's probably a good thing. But now with this Netflix deal, it's slowly been coming back bit by bit to elevate stories exactly the way they need to. With Cody Rhodes and John Cena's heel turn, it definitely helped in that storyline a ton. And then same with this last night, right? It just seems so sadistic what Gunther was doing to Jimmy Uso that Jay was so focused on how he's got to win, he's got to stop messing up. But now it has that personal element to it because they were having a match for a championship at WrestleMania, but now he messed with his family. And as we know, that family, that bloodline, the only thing you don't mess with that family is each other's family. So I'm a lot more invested in this match than I have been the last couple of weeks, especially after last week when it looked like they were leaning into the mistakes, but now they're leaning into the family angle. And I'm very excited at that prospect.
Psychology is such an important part of wrestling, and it's such an invisible part of wrestling. And when you talk about psychology, it is the ability to make a fan invested into a match, that is to give you emotion. You can have the surface reactions like the pops for moves, the laughs for funny things, the highs and the lows that carry you through a match. But when somebody is really good at the psychological side of it, that means that they can pull you in and make you dislike them. That is the ability that Gunther has. And the psychology, the reason blood is a weapon in psychology, just like a chair is, brass knuckles, any kind of a weapon, a cage, when you put a cage over the ring, these are all to be used as psychological tools. And that's to work the fans, to work the crowd, to work the audience. And last night, they absolutely hit a home run with the psychology side of that segment. And I can't say enough about how entertained I was by it. And I'm not sadistic, I'm not sick, and in the Attitude Era, they wore us out with blood. Everybody bled all the time. And you can use too much blood. You can use too many chairs. You can use too many finishers. We've had this. We could have a whole episode on this whole idea that you should not be able to kick out of a finisher, let alone five. Blood last night was intentional. It was meant to add a psychological element to this rivalry, and it absolutely hit on every note.
It absolutely did. And yeah, like it just, I'm very invested in this match. Jey Uso and Gunther have such distinct styles. Their match at Saturday night's main event was good. And obviously, everyone going into that, it's like Gunther's going to win, and he did. Whereas this time, it still feels like Gunther's probably going to get the win, but I'm a lot more invested in this storyline specifically because of how he treated Jimmy Uso last night. Do you have any final thoughts, Jan, before we move on to headline number 4?
I don't know who I want to win this match more now at this point. Like, I the sympathy is there for the Uso, which is what they wanted. They wanted to plant that sympathy, and they successfully did. But man, I love Gunther. I love that mean streak that he has, and that was the segment of the night.
No longer the main event of night 1 for WrestleMania. It is now presumably the opener or middle of the show, maybe night 2. It's happening at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. We know that. Jey Uso versus Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. Can't wait.
OneFall.
Headline number 4. I don't have a quippy headline way to write this, even though I have a journalist with me. What the heck is going on with the women? Jan, I have no idea what's going on. This triple threat thing happening, I get more confused every Monday. What's happening?
I'm with you. This was touted last night as the main event, and it held the position of the main event, and it just was a strikeout for me last night. I got the notion, and I was like, okay, we're going to get some sort of an answer tonight as to what this match is going to look like in 2 weeks. At this point, we got 2 more episodes to go, and Bianca Belair was slated to be the special guest referee. Io Sky, the champion comes in. We're finally going to get some clarity on, who's going to face her for that title. at WrestleMania, and we get a muddled mess that is double disqualification ending, which does nothing to advance this rivalry. Rhea Ripley comes out looking weaker, in my opinion. Not that, I've said in the past Rhea Ripley's such a great talent that it's difficult. There's probably not much that can hurt her, but they figured it out last night, in my opinion. I did not like the segment. I did not like the match, and I definitely did not like the conclusion. If the goal here was to up the physical portion of this, like they did with the Uso Gunther segment, they failed in this one. Where they were so successful earlier in the night, they failed miserably on this one. I just don't get what they accomplished or what they think they accomplished with this segment last night. And you could have told me 3 weeks ago that this was going to be a triple threat match, and I'd have been fine with it. At this point, we don't know if we assume it's a triple threat match, but it is such an ugly, disorganized, uninteresting approach they've taken with it. I don't get it. If anything, they've weakened all three of these women and not strengthened any of them. If one of them were strong right now, I would say, okay, this is what they're trying to do. They've made Io Sky strong, but they haven't. They haven't. She's been the champion for a month, and she's weaker than ever, in my opinion. They've weakened Rhea Ripley and they've weakened Bianca Belair. And I don't know what's happened here. It's a muddled mess. That's the best way I can describe it. The match itself was okay. I liked some of the spots. It was a little sloppy at times, but triple threats typically, can be, right? Sometimes you get three people involved. It's not the same as a one-on-one. One-on-one is very fluid. Two people talking to each other, two people working together. You add a third, okay, maybe some of the spots don't hit home, things like that. But for me, this one is in need of a serious life support.
It's interesting because when Triple H got the keys to the kingdom, since that has happened, he's kind of, it's been unpredictable. You're not sure where it's going to go. But then with Cody and Cena mentioning the old guard, so to speak, it kind of felt reminiscent of the old guard, if you will, because when it was announced last week that Bianca Belair was going to be the special guest referee, I immediately went, oh, like, is it just going to be a disqualification to lead to a triple threat? And then I went, there's no way it could just be that, right? And then that's exactly what happened, is that the match came out and it was Rhea and it was Io, and neither of them really seemed like intense in the way that they normally do. And then out comes Bianca. Her referee outfit was stellar, I will say that. She looked great in the Bianca EST referee everything as well. But then, yeah, the match it didn't feel like an Io Sky match. It didn't feel like a Rhea Ripley match. And you could tell that it almost feels like the three of them don't really know where this is going either, because there was the first hit on Bianca, there's no DQ, there's the second hit, and then it happens over and over, and then Bianca's had enough, so now she calls out the match, which is fine. But Adam Pearce, in storyline, we're talking about psychology, right? So in storyline, Adam Pearce made her the special guest referee so she can help dictate who her opponent is going to be at WrestleMania 41 for the championship. So then she gets tired of getting hit, so she throws out the match, therefore maybe potentially putting her match in jeopardy. I just don't understand from a storyline standpoint or from a reality standpoint what's going on here.
I agree. It's messy, and it didn't have to be. I mean, you've got two of the greatest talents of this generation in Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. There's probably not two women on the roster that you would put ahead of them. You would put some on the same plane, but I don't think you'd put anyone ahead of either of them. Bianca, when she broke in, she became one of the biggest, fastest rising stars ever. She's got it all. She's got the look. She's good on the mic. She's a great wrestler. And then the greatest of her generation right now is Rhea Ripley. I mean, she's so over. And I don't understand. The best I can compare it to is over in SmackDown. We see what's happening with Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. We're invested in that. And that's only two, so I understand it. But we just talked about CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns. That's three. We're invested. We know what's on the line. They've managed to make us interested in this match. With Charlotte and Tiffany, we can see where it's going. We can see that Tiffany is getting over even more as the good guy, while Flair is the bad guy or bad girl, if you will. I'm not sure who the heel is in this trifecta. Who is it? Because you've got three really popular women wrestlers, and no one has emerged as the bad guy or the heel in all of this. And that's what's making it a muddled mess for me. I'm not yet sure who I'm supposed to sympathize for, who I'm supposed to loathe, and who I'm supposed to love. It feels like they want me to love Io Sky, but they've weakened her to the point where I can't take her as a credible, champion baby face. And with the others, it just seems like you said, it seems like they've not been given a direction. And that's what it lacks for me. It lacks direction, it lacks bite. And after last night, it still lacks an actual match. And here we are 2 weeks to go.
Yeah, well, luckily we do have a couple more weeks. Hopefully they will kind of sort out what's going on here because it on paper, this match seems like it could be incredible, but the buildup has been very all over the place and very confusing. But we will find out because one of the 2 nights of WrestleMania, it will be either a singles match between 2 of the 3, or it'll be a triple threat between all 3 of them. But potentially the Women's World Heavyweight Championship is on the line at WrestleMania 41, and we will find out more about that very soon, I hope. Maybe we have one bonus headline, Jan. We just need to talk about it really quick. Where the heck was El Grande Americano, my new favorite wrestler? I saw no appearance from my new guy.
He's back in North America, waiting to make his debut next week on
OneFall.
That wraps up another episode of OneFall. We will be back next week with more headlines. Jan, any quick final thoughts before we go?
I cannot wait for the next Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown.
Back to regular times at 8 o'clock in North America. It'll be super excited. Thanks for watching and listening. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Jaybird Digital Arts. We will be back next week with more headlines. Following contests.